Welcome to Your Success Podcast. We give you actionable insight and stories behind real-life success wherever you go. Here are your hosts, Angelos and Mo.
Your Success Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Tax Partners, specialists in helping business owners and property investors to understand the wide range of tax issues that impact on their income, gains, and overall wealth. Now, let's get into the show.
Welcome to Your Success Podcast. I'm Angelos.
And I'm Mo, and we're really excited today because we are filming another deep dive into one part of Your Success book as part of our mini-series, and this is actually the fifth now, Angelos. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it, Mo. But what is really cool is that we have Luke Strata from Luke Strata Photography filming us as we speak, ready for our Your Success post-book launch cinema party, which is on the 1st of October. So if
he's the one banging and crashing and making all the noise in the background. Yeah. So you'll see him coming in and out of shot. Cool. So let's get on with the podcast, I guess.
Brilliant.
So we're really excited to be here today. And today we're going to be talking about taking ownership versus making excuses. So it's something that we explore in quite a lot of detail in actually chapter 5 in the book. So I suppose, Angus, what's the importance of taking ownership?
Well, it's very easy to have slopey shoulders. So if things go wrong, whether that's in a work environment or within your own business, and it's always someone else's fault. It's John's fault. It's Sandra's fault. You know, they didn't do that job properly, and that's why I couldn't do my job properly.
I've never liked Sandra.
Oh, John gets on my nerves big time. But anyway, the point is that by taking ownership of the problem, yes, it may or may not be your fault directly or indirectly, but at least you're planting a flag in the sand and you're going to say, right, I'm going to take ownership of this problem and I'm going to solve it.
I think the thing I like the most about it is you have control. So if you take ownership over something, it actually gives you control to change things in the future. Yeah. If you don't take ownership for something, then you've basically given that control away to someone else, because you say that it's your environment that's impacting you, but not in a good way. You relinquish control over it.
The evil twin of taking ownership are excuses, isn't it? So we're going to talk about excuses a little bit later, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%. So I think, so ownership is really important, and it's sort of contrasted with making excuses, right? Because if you're making excuses, you're not taking ownership. If you're taking ownership, it means you're not making excuses for everything. So it's sort of like they counteract. So one of the common excuses around people being on success journeys and their success path and things like that is around age. Mm-hmm. So there's either, I'm too young or I'm too old. What do you think about that?
I think you can be successful at any age and you can start at any point. So judging from who we've interviewed people in their late teens, all the way up to 70 plus, even 80 plus. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you can always start and really have a go at it. So for example, if older people say, I'm too old to make this a success, I'm in my 40s now, I'm in my 50s, 60s, whatever it is. I always think back to Ray Kroc, the chap who helped make an amazing franchise right throughout America. You may have heard of it, McDonald's. And he started, I think, at the age of 52. And I think he died maybe about 30 odd years later, having established this mega international franchise. And he was worth about $600 million. And he started at 52.
But there are some advantages of starting when you're older, right?
Yeah, you've got more experience. You're more worldly. You have a bigger network potentially than a younger person, so you can tap into that. You may have financial resources available to you compared to a younger person. So there's many different advantages of starting older.
So what would you say to someone that was saying, I'm too young to start?
Well,
because that's an excuse.
Yeah. I mean, you may think you're too young to become successful because you're always looking ahead at people who have, maybe 40, 50 years old who have done amazing things. But they also had to start somewhere. So a younger person, they have on their side, they're fresh, they're green, they're naive. They haven't been dulled by all of the negative experiences that maybe an older person has. So they may see things in a slightly different way, which may create opportunities for a new business or new ideas.
And the energy as well when you're younger. Not saying that you don't have energy when you're older, but it's sort of a different, I suppose it is maybe a naivety as well, but you definitely have more energy and more get up and go, and you've got more to prove to the world and things like that. And they're all can be, if they're channeled in the right way, can be really good traits.
And worst case scenario, even if you lose everything. You stuff it up big time, okay? You're still young enough to just say, right, I've learned something. Let's move on. How can I learn from this and try again in something different?
And you've got longer for sort of compounding to take effect as well. So
yeah, all those little great changes that you're going to make in your life, they will compound in a steeper curve, shall we say, than compared to someone who's older. But let's not beat about the bush, Mo. I mean, one of the most important reasons why an older person, if they have a great idea or if they want to make a difference in this world, is get on and do it, because you're not going to live as long as someone who's younger. Death is going to come sooner to you, all being well.
And we also talk about regret in the book, and that's sort of linked in with that, isn't it? So if you're older, you don't want to die. I know you're not going to be that old, but if you don't want to die and have regrets that you haven't done those things and tried stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've written in the book, the two saddest words in the English language are "if only." If only I did this. If only I did that. And you don't want to be sat on your deathbed, laying on your deathbed with all of your dreams surrounding you, all of them saying, why didn't you let us go free? Why didn't you let that amazing idea of yours go out there? But one of the things that we write about in the book is that you have a duty to leave the world in a better place than compared to when you found it. And if you have a great idea or if you have a great passion that you think could make a real difference in people's lives, you have a duty to let the world know. So this is why you should really go out there and pursue your success, regardless of your age. So never use age as an excuse.
Yeah, 100%. So another excuse would be access to resources. So like, access to people that you need to do the work, access to money, access to a network, things like that. What would you say to people that use that as an excuse?
Okay, so money is normally one of the biggest excuses. I mean, especially if you're looking to start a new business or a new venture, you're going to need some seed capital. And there's many, many different ways you can find this money. And one of them could be friends and family borrowing it from them. Another could be a venture capitalist. Another could be a simple bank loan, provided that you put together a really good business idea. So there's many, many different ways you can find and raise money, of which we talk in the book.
I think the thing with excuses is as soon as you say something like, I can't do that because, you're completely closing off, the opportunity for your mind to even work out a way that like, how you could do it.
Yeah,
you've just written yourself off.
Yeah, you've put this mental barrier, and it's like, well, you've got to take that down. What's the saying? If you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's very true. If you think, right, okay, so for example, if you wanted to raise £350,000 in the space of a month, and you've got zero, how the hell are you going to do it? So one option could be, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Therefore,
I can't do it.
Write it off, forget it, move on. Okay.
And also just on that point, you would find enough reference points and people you speak to say that is too hard an objective, right? And you could speak to plenty of people and they'd say, yeah, right, that's a ridiculous amount of money to raise in that time.
And you'll seek out others who will support that. It's called confirmation bias, right? So you'll speak to that negative parent or you'll speak to that negative friend. It's like, Angelos, don't worry about it. You're never going to find that money and whatever else. The other option is to say to yourself, right, okay, I've got to find £350,000 in the next month. Okay, how the hell am I going to do it? What options do I have available to me? And you literally just list every single thing. And it doesn't matter if you don't have the answer straight away. You've taken those first steps. You've opened that door to start thinking about possibilities and solutions.
Luke, can you keep it down over there? I'm trying to do a podcast.
We're just talking about Your Success Podcast book, Luke. What's that? Yeah, it is. It's coming out on Amazon on the 24th of September. Funnily enough.
Yeah. What's that? Where do you go to sign up for exclusive launch offers?
Oh, right. Okay, I'll tell you. It's a good question, actually. It's tiny.cc/your book. Yeah, great questions, Luke.
Yeah, good. Thanks for your contribution.
Very welcome.
Where were we? So we were talking about excuses. So yeah, you were saying if you want to do something, you've got an objective like raising a certain amount of money in a month. It's the questions that you ask yourself that open up your brain to try and think of ways to achieve it rather than just write it off as something that can't be done.
Yeah, and I think also your character's got to enjoy challenges.
Yeah,
because you will encounter loads of challenges along your success journey.
Yeah,
and if you 100%. Keep coming across barriers and you think, oh, that's it, game over, and you give up at the slightest thing, then you're not going to get very far. So you've got to change that mindset. You've got to be more accepting of challenges and want to overcome them.
Brilliant. Okay. What about I don't have the time? That's quite a common one.
Yeah. a common thing we often hear is, I've got a 9-to-5 job and I don't have time to build a business, and all these usual excuses. Okay, now whilst I was working, I created other businesses in my own time, and you work until 1, 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. Over the weekends, you don't go and meet your friends at the pub or whatever it is, and you literally sacrifice a lot of social time, or I certainly did, so that I could focus on growing my businesses. And it's very important to do that.
It's about priorities, isn't it? Everyone's got the same amount of time. It's about what you choose to prioritize, what you choose to spend your time on. And it's whether you actually want the thing that you think you want enough, if you're not prepared to sacrifice some things to get it. And I think just going back to, like, you know, the reason we wrote the book and the fact that we've consolidated all the knowledge from all the really successful people we've interviewed, not one of them will be, you know, negative. They're all very positive people, and they don't, like, excuses aren't in their vocabulary.
Yeah,
I think that's really key.
We talk about communication. We will record another one about that. But one of the things we say in communication is to remove those negative words. I'm bored, or I can't, or get rid of them. Get rid of them out of your vocabulary, because what you say is what you are effectively. So we that's another podcast altogether. But it's very important to look at your time, plan your time, manage your time, and maybe even put together a little diary of what you do over the course of a week or a month, and highlight the colours that you spend on social, that you spend on work, and that you spend on your success, whatever that may be for you. And then very quickly you'll think, crikey, I'm spending a lot of time watching TV, whereas maybe I can only watch half an hour or an hour rather than 3 hours an evening. And also, if you really are determined to make a success of it, then why not outsource? Because that's a very good way of delegating.
Time leverage,
So you can find an outsourcer to start doing some research for you. So they're working whilst you're working, whatever you're doing. And then that way, 2 people or 1 person or how many you want can work in parallel to you. So effectively you have 3 lots of manpower all working towards your vision.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and the final one that we were going to talk about was excuses, and wasn't born into success, and I didn't grow up in a place where, you know, everyone was successful and things like that. What would you say to those kind of people? Well,
being born in a great environment really does help, or surrounding yourself with really positive people, or the best, you know, table tennis player, or the best coaches, all that kind of thing. The environment really does help, but no one is guaranteed to be a success in this world. You can be born a prodigy like Mozart or someone like that, and you have this amazing gift within you, but they are absolutely the rare exception to the rule. You have to work hard for your success. There is no short.
You can still even be born into a successful environment and, you know, throw it all away. And sometimes there's maybe more pressure because you've been born into that environment. If you've been born into somewhere that, you know, you've got money or you've got the resources and you've got stuff like that, sometimes that can be more pressure. And actually it's the people that have got less that have maybe something more to prove and have more drive that become more. So I think there's examples both ways of people born into success and not being successful, and people being born in the opposite of what you would class as success. And
you see it with actors. For example, if you have a mega successful actor as a father or a mother, then you either will go one way or the other. You'll either become you don't want the limelight and you do something completely different, or you don't achieve at all. Or you think, right, I'm going to try and eclipse my parents. And you see that a lot. Robert Downey Jr., for example. Father was actor, and look at how successful he's been.
100%.
And he's been through
a lot, hasn't he?
And he's come out amazing. So well done to him.
So in summary, taking ownership versus making excuses. We're firmly in taking ownership. Get those excuses out of there. Just take accountability for everything that happens. If it's something negative that happens, take the learning from it. It's another thing that we talk about in the book. Learning. Actually, we talked about it before, didn't we, in the last podcast? Learning from failure and learning from things that don't work out so well. Definitely. So, just as a reminder, if anyone needs a reminder, the book is out on the 24th of September, and what's the website to go to register interest?
It's tiny.cc/your book.
Luke, what's the website?
tiny.cc/your book.
Bloody hell, he's
good, isn't he?
This is why we pay him a lot of money.
Well, too much if you ask me. Okay, so we want to know your thoughts on ownership, taking ownership versus making excuses. Do you take ownership in life? Do you make excuses? Pop your comments in the live video, email us on hello@yoursuccesspodcast, or get in touch on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So thank you for listening to the podcast today. And thank you to Luke for coming to take some pictures of us and some video and making loads of noise in the background. Click subscribe, leave us a review, and we look forward to your comments on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our book launch, which we haven't mentioned yet, I don't think, tiny.cc/yourbook.
And that's on the 24th of September.
It is.
And you can find it on Amazon for a paperback copy as well as Kindle. And yeah, we're really,
And audio next year.
and we're very, very excited by it. And we think it's going to make a great positive impact in people's
It definitely
lives.
is. And the people that have read it already have actually said that genuinely. And we've only paid them a little bit to say that. And they've actually come back and said they really enjoyed it. So who have you been?
I've been Angelos, but who have you been?
I've been Mo. Oh, that was so cheesy.
And we will see you on the next exciting episode of Your Success Podcast. Your Success Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Tax Partners. If you're in business or an active property investor, talk to them to better understand your tax affairs and your options. If that's you, there is a special offer waiting for you at tiny.cc/successpod. That's tiny.cc/successpod.
You have been listening to Your Success Podcast. Click subscribe for more incredible content. More details can be found at www.yoursuccesspodcast.com.